Well, it's been a very interesting weekend when you go out like I do and you're kind of out of touch for a few days and you come back. And the big news that broke late yesterday was Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino is now going to be the deputy director of the FBI, Ted.
It is. He's going to do a great job. I mean, this is a guy with a great history. You know, he's a New York policeman. He was Secret Service. He knows the ins and outs, and he's been around the Trump organization for quite a while, and I think he's going to do a great job. I think it's a great pick and a supplement to Kash Patel at the FBI. And I think this is a team, when you look at what Trump's put together, it's amazing because these are people that didn't need the job. They're doing it because they want to serve this country and follow through with the Trump agenda.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and I was watching a little bit of news coverage of Mr. Bongino's appointment today, and they pointed out something that's very true, and it really cuts across all the different picks that, including the president himself, that what they're giving up to serve this nation. Because
they really are.
Dan Bongino is at the top of his career financially right now. I mean, he's got one of the #1 podcasts in the country. He's connected with Rumble, all kind of way. The guy's making money, literally broadcasting from his own home studio, and he's going to have to give all of that up to serve the nation, and I think he did it without hesitation.
I agree with you. I think, again, this is somebody, when you get somebody from the private sector that's willing to give that up, and he said he would give up his podcast to go in and do that, he's serving the nation for the right reason. He's one of those guys that's doing this for a cause, not for a job.
Yeah, and like I say, when you really take a look at all the different appointments that President Trump has made, and like as I say, including himself running for president, I mean, if you look at financially, they're giving up a lot to do that.
They really are, yeah. And again, those are the kind of people I think we want in Congress or in the presidency, somebody leading this nation that, again, they were successful on the outside. They didn't need to do this, but they're doing it for the cause.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You kind of slipped up there and mentioned Congress, but if it's okay because it triggered something in me that you think about it. Here these people are giving up lots of money in the private sector to go into public service where, unfortunately, especially in the U.S. Senate, it seems like people get in to that office and become millionaires while they're in there when they're only making a few $100,000 a year.
You know, that's funny because we got accused of going into Congress to get the retirement. And the truth be known, those 10 years, 2 years before I got elected, running for Congress, and the 8 years I was in Congress, Carolyn and I went backwards in total net worth about $1 million. And people were saying, I got rich in Congress, or I did it for the retirement. Today, I think the retirement that we get, and we matched it, whatever we could put in as much as we could. The retirement I get today after the insurance is taken out is about $600 a month. So.
Well, certainly we appreciate your service, Ted. But, back to Dan Bongino real quick. I mean, his, as I say it, bona fides are unbelievable, what all he's done. He truly wants to be a police officer, really. And, he's proven he's willing to lay himself on the line public service. But I got kind of a funny story about Dan. I actually had the privilege of meeting Dan a few times.
Did you?
Yeah. He came and visited with the people I was doing my former show on, and I talked with him. And then I saw him, and I'm pretty sure you were at this event. It was at the Republican committee meeting down in Orlando. It was the same time that Mr. Adam Putnam and a young Ron DeSantis were debating down there. Well, Dan Bongino was there, right? He was just really kind of getting known nationwide. And I ran into him before the thing started, and I was talking to him, and people, hear me out on this because they might get the wrong thing. He was wearing this camouflage T-shirt that literally showed every ripple in his body, right? So I'm talking to the guy, and
I could wear one of those would show the wave.
Yeah, I've got like one, instead of a six-pack act, I got like a keg act.
Yeah.
But I was talking with Dan, and then the thing opened up, and all these women came in there and saw me talking to him privately, and they all wanted to be about Dan Bongino. So they were following him around everywhere he went. And then a few came up to me and were saying, like, Dan Bongino kind of thing. And I'm like, I guess I'm tying into the groupies, but it was amazing how many women were like trying to get a little bit of Dan Bongino.
I don't know if you can go after that and say women. Now that's you're getting sexist there.
Yeah, I hear you, but man, Dan, he is an amazing guy, and what a choice for deputy director of the FBI.
Well, and he's passionate about it. You know, when you listen to him talk, he's passionate about it, and he will root out bad stuff in that. And you think of the Obama years and Eric Holder with Fast and Furious, things like that should never happen in our government, where they're funneling guns from the United States down to the cartels that turned around and shot people in our country. One of them was a border control officer. His first name was Terry, and I forget his last name.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned Border Patrol. On a side note, I don't know if you caught this, but the Border Patrol now is going to be occupying and renting a signed agreement to rent out the USAID building that is being vacated. Did you happen to see that?
I did not see that. That was the position I was interviewed for to be the administrator for USAID, and they have got an amazing building. And it's interesting, you have to go through more security to get into the USAID building than you do in the halls of Congress.
Yeah, but I just caught that this morning on the news before I was coming in that now USAID building is going to be occupied by the Border Patrol. That's a bit of poetic justice, I think. If you think
I guess
it
is. It really is. That's great.
Well, another big piece of news came out. Maybe not as huge as Dan Bongino, but kind of interesting nonetheless. Joy Reid. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Joy Reid of The Readout, I think is what it's called, on MSNBC. There's a good picture of her right there.
Yeah,
she is her show is being canceled.
Don't tell me that.
Cancel culture in reverse, so to speak. But this comes to you from Microsoft News Network. MSNBC cancels Joy Reid's Lefty Show. That's their words, not mine, but I think they're true. As network makes major shakeup. The final episode, Ted, and you may want to mark your calendar on this, of Reid's show, The Readout, will air sometime this week.
Is that right? We should have a moment of silence. Ready? Okay, yeah. That's enough.
That's good enough. Like you said when we were talking on the way in about we need to put the flags at half staff or not.
Yeah, for negative 5 seconds.
Yeah, I hear you. But MSNBC's new president, a lady named Rebecca Cutler, said, this is what she said, when she first took over at MSNBC. She said, our jobs are hard on a normal day, and these are not normal times. Wow. Hallelujah, they're going to be gone. But they're having hard times at MSNBC.
Yeah, and I said this may be a bad thing, because now the left-wing radicals are going to get more educated, maybe, and that would bring them into our sphere, but we don't want their tendencies. So it could be a good thing, but we need to watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got a video I want to play for you here. It's about a minute or so long. This is one that Joy Reid on her show just after the election of Donald Trump. She made a statement. I think it kind of speaks for itself, but it's a pretty good example of just how far out this leftist bunch is willing to go. Check it out.
Shouldn't have to suffer the consequences of your votes? You don't want to be around me because I voted for fascism. No fair. I'm coughing on you with COVID, but you want me to wear a mask for your safety? No fair. My body, my choice. Well, here's an alternative thought. Make your own dinner, MAGA. Make your own sandwiches. Wipe your own tears. Troll amongst yourselves with Elon and leave us alone. You got your heart's desire, the president you dreamed of, and worship instead of Jesus. And this time, you didn't even have to storm the Capitol, smash the windows, or try to kill police officers or issue death threats to poll workers. See? You did it just by voting this time. Congrats. You got your way. And he even got away with breaking the law. Yay. But if you expect the 73 million who voted for the prosecutor, not the felon, and particularly the 92% of black women who voted for Kamala to give you a cookie for your vote, a trophy, a hug, a high five, you might be asking too much. If we want to eat with you, we will. But if we just want some peace over the holidays and we don't want to put up with your trolling while we eat our tofurkey, get over it. Stop acting like we owe you. And for
there
God's
you have
sakes,
it. If that's
stop.
proof of just how nutty they are. Was what she's talking about in that video. This was shortly after Donald Trump's election. before he actually became, took the office. She's telling people that if you have to go and be around a bunch of MAGA people at Thanksgiving dinner, make sure they have to cook their own dinner and all of that kind of stuff, because you're not going to serve them. I'm not sure exactly what she means by that, but that just shows you the lack of joy that you're going to have when you deal with people like
from Joy Reid, right?
Yeah,
and lack of joy.
It's crazy. And the only thing I would ask is, could The View be next? Could they maybe cancel The View?
Let's hope.
I mean, it's talking about people that don't need a Thanksgiving dinner, maybe on them. But the president is actually on a roll. We talked about this last week when we were talking about his first month in office. I mean, President Trump, man, he gives you no time whatsoever to kind of catch your breath.
I mean, here's a guy that's on a mission. He had the mandate from the American people, and he is rolling through this. He learned a lot from the first administration, not to trust the establishment. So he brought in his own people. And it's a whirlwind up there, and it's got a lot of the establishment confused. And I think he just needs to go and keep not undermining, but devolving back from the federal government that the state should be doing, and get rid of a lot of this corruption in these programs. And we saw it in USAID, and he just needs to keep running, and the American people need to support him. It's going to be messy before it gets better, but when it gets better, it's going to be the golden age of America.
Absolutely. And the president, like I said earlier, he does not rest. And I don't know if you saw this video or not, but over the weekend, I guess maybe it was late Friday, the president had a meeting at the White House with some governors, various governors.
Yeah.
And he was talking about a variety of things on this, but we're going to play a snippet where he's talking about women's sports and what he did about the transgender, that only women could compete against other women in sports. And, Donald Trump, love him, hate him, whatever, one thing about him, you don't have to guess what's on his mind. He is very plain spoken, and he is willing to challenge anybody. And in this video, he challenges the governor of the great state of Maine. Let's play this video, check it out, and we'll come back and talk about it.
The governor of Maine? Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect. So just to end this administration.
Wow, you talk about plain truth spoken. There you got President Trump willing to take on the governor of Maine. What do you think about that, Ted?
No, I think that's good, and I think they need to be called out like that. When they have the Title IX issues that deal with our school programs and funding for those schools, and they go counter to the culture of America. And we went through 4 years of this, actually a little bit more than that, of the transgender sports, having men play against women. It's crazy. And I think it should be men's sports, women's sports, and if there's enough of the other ones, have other sports. But keep them separated. It's just the sanity or the insaneness of the last 4 years is what led to the Democrats losing and a strong Trump and the support he had. So this is rebalancing and redirecting America. The ship is getting back on course, as we know in the nautical world, that you have to follow the chart, and they were chartless under the Obama administration, and no Biden.
Yeah, well, probably under the Obama administration as well, but because Biden was there at least partially, I suppose. But I love how Donald Trump is willing to just call anybody out. And, of course, I give some credit to the governor of Maine. She didn't back down. She might have wished that she had. But right. Donald Trump tells her at the end of that video we played that he says, I like how she says, well, we'll obey state and federal laws. He goes, well, we are the federal law right here. And then he tells her, he says, well, good. She says, I'll see you in court. And he says, well, good luck with that. We'll win that one for sure. It'll be an easy one. And then he tells her, good luck. This is the part I love. Good luck with your life after politics, because I don't think you have one in politics anymore.
Yeah, he was pretty succinct on that. No, it's good. I mean, that's leadership. He's doing it. People may not like it, but it's matter of fact. One of my best professors in vet school, he was real matter of fact. When he taught, he says it was just the facts, and it was good because Trump's doing that.
Yeah, well, I love the part where he talks about women's sports in general and all. And if you hadn't seen the video we played last week or about 2 weeks ago, now it moves so fast it's hard to keep up with.
It does.
Where Trump signed that executive order. But, you know, the thing that surprises me a little bit about this women's sports deal is how few women in the past have spoken up about it. They're beginning to now, but, you know, keep in mind that like Martina Navratilova,
Yeah, I can't say that either.
Yeah, she is an icon in women's tennis, and she's actually been speaking out about this for
really
some
has.
time.
Yeah.
That you know, it should only be women in women's sports. And now you have Riley Gaines, who has been like a leader in this, speaking out. But I really would challenge women out there. More women need to speak out and speak up for women, because I know they believe what the president is pushing.
Riley Gaines, when she spoke out, and some other real conservatives that spoke out about these issues, the media crushed them. They get doxxed. Doxing is where they put all your information on the internet, where you live, your address, your phone number, and all that, and you get all these hateful emails. We still get them from my time in Congress. And so that suppresses anybody that wants to speak out. But if enough people do that and they get the support, especially with somebody like this administration, you're going to change the tide, and we've seen the tides change.
Yeah, they certainly are. Well, we're going to take a brief break here just for a moment, a commercial break. I hope you will not only continue to support, like, and share our show, but support our sponsors that you'll be seeing during this commercial break. And if you would like to be a sponsor of the show, we would welcome you. And you can see that banner that talks about advertising with us, and contact the great Freddie about that. But we'll be right back.
Although the owner of Lewis Oil Company maintains she is 29, Lewis Oil turns 60 years old in June. Chevron would like to recognize the North Florida second-generation family-owned business, celebrating its growth and staying power. Lewis Oil Company maintains significant on-hand supplies, strategically located fuel depots, a delivery fleet, on-site service, fuel card locks, and convenience stores. Lewis Oil Company understands its responsibility in the local economy by providing service and delivery on demand and in crisis. As a first responder for 18 Florida counties and the Southeast from Texas to Virginia, we are proud of this rare accomplishment. Lewis Oil delivers.
This is Ward Scott, and I want to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. The Ward Scott Files premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Meldon Law, the only official injury partner of the Florida Gators.
The Ward Scott Files Gold sponsors are Lewis Oil Company,
Shoot GTR,
On the Spot Dry Cleaners, R&R Construction, and Style Cuts. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, www.wardscottfiles.com, and click on the Advertise Here banner on the right side of the page, or call my friend Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the Ward Scott Files. And remember, if you like the show, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
Ward, that very much surprises me that you've never been tased.
You can't handle the truth!
All bees poop.
A warthog. He's gonna come up the steps. Here he comes. Oh my goodness, and he's huge. Hello, boy. Wonder if we can pet him. Hi, boy.
Can we touch him? No, thanks.
Help me! Help! Help!
Well, welcome back to our weekly pirate ship here at the Ward Scott Files. Yours truly, the old salty dog, John Martin, and my co-host here, the great Ted Yoho. Well, Ted, we want to talk about, I know you served in Congress, and I don't believe you served with this gentleman. I think he came in shortly after you, but I'm sure you have met Mr. Byron Donalds, have you not?
No, I have. Byron's a great guy. I mean, very, very serious about what he does, successful in his previous life in the financial world, and he's doing a good job in Congress, showing strong leadership skills.
Absolutely. Well, there were a lot of rumors that Byron was considered for cabinet positions and various other appointments, and there was even rumor that he was being considered to take Marco Rubio's empty Senate seat. If Marco
there
had been
were a lot of us
confirmed.
vying for that seat.
I hear you, but now. It has come out that although Mr. Donalds has not made a formal announcement, President Trump has come out and given his support for Byron to be the next governor of the great state of Florida. And keep in mind that he's not trying to replace Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis will be term limited out in 2 years. So what are your thoughts on Byron Donalds being the next governor of the state of Florida potentially?
Well, Byron being endorsed by Trump early, I mean, that you can't get any better than that. But we're still roughly 2 years away from the election. There's going to be other people getting in that. I know some people I don't want to mention because they, I will. Corey Mills, he's a congressman now in Florida. He's made noise that he wants to get in that. Of course, Matt Gaetz says he wants to get in that. But I think Byron, with his conservative background, being in Florida, he's one to watch. Wilton Simpson is Secretary of Ag for Florida. He's got a war chest of $50 million. I think it's too early to, endorse somebody going this far out. I think there's a lot to be seen, and I think you'll see other people get into that race. So we'll see where it goes, but it sure doesn't hurt to have President Trump's endorsement.
Well, we saw that back, I was talking about that event that I went to when I met Dan Bongino down there. Well, at that same event, we're talking about the not the state convention, but the Republican Party meetings in Orlando was when Governor DeSantis, then Congressman DeSantis, was up against Adam Putnam in a primary. Former Secretary of Agriculture, former congressman. And by all accounts, Adam Putnam was leading that race, money and everything else.
He sure was.
But they had a debate on Fox News, and about a week or two before that debate, then President Trump came out and supported Ron DeSantis, and not taken away from that race in any way, shape, or form. But I really believe that is what put Governor DeSantis into the governorship.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. The numbers changed overnight. When Putnam, when he came to Putnam County, he had a fundraiser and raised over $100,000, and it's one of the poorest counties in the state. But that's how much support he had. Adam was a good guy, and Ron has been very effective as our governor. So I don't think the Floridians lost with either one of those. And with President Trump coming out and endorsing DeSantis when he did, that was a game changer in that race. And if he comes out and supports Byron, that's a good thing for Byron and hopefully for the state of Florida and for us.
Well, at that event that I was talking about, you could literally feel the mood change in people when it became clear that President Trump was supporting Ron DeSantis.
It really did.
It was a buzz going around, and you literally could see the election turn. I've never really seen anything quite like that, where it literally turned because you had all the leaders of the Republican Party there, and they went from probably 80% behind Putnam to maybe we ought to look at this DeSantis fellow.
Well, it was interesting because in Congress it changed up there too, because a lot of the people, Adam was well liked, they're behind him. But when Trump came out, you could see it change up there too. And I think that was the sentiment of the Floridians.
Well, And one thing it shows for sure that Florida rules, man. I mean, I'm not knocking any other state. I love my state, but wow. I mean, Florida is playing a major role nationally and internationally. I don't know that there's a state that has more political clout right now than the state of Florida.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. You know, with the wins that we've had on policies and the things they're doing, you know, you look at the living standards here in Florida, you know, that's why people are coming here, and the state population is growing just exponentially. And you see states like New York and California and Illinois, people are moving out. And there was a great article on Governor Pritzker, who is just an extremely liberal progressive, who's the governor of Illinois. And Indiana wants those people to move into Indiana. And it's a funny fight going back and forth. But the people are choosing conservative values.
Well, maybe we could have a Pritzker, Chris Christie ticket down the line, a unity ticket right there, man. You know,
throw in a couple others like Pelosi and AOC. Do you see where Trump is going to rename the federal building in San Francisco? It's the Pelosi building.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to rename it.
He ought to name it the Ocasio building, right?
No, he's going to get it renamed from the Nancy Pelosi federal building, because it's a federal building and he has the authority to do that.
I did see where Gavin Newsom, you know, who raised like $50 million or something like that to try to fight Donald Trump's impact as president, has now come out and is asking for $40 billion from Congress. So, I mean, you know, get your facts straight out there, Mr. Newsom. It's just amazing how they're doing. They're willing to come back and ask for money and fight the president.
Can you imagine if Trump gets that building renamed? He'll have a press conference and he'll take a paper and he'll tear it.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. You know,
poetic justice.
Maybe he could jump up on something like old Artie Grindle used to do, going way back. You remember that guy from I Want to Sell You a Car? Another great Floridian, Artie Grindle. Well, I want to tell people where they can watch our show. Of course, you can watch it on the Ward Scott Files Facebook channel. You can watch it on YouTube now, the Ward Scott Files podcast. You can see it on multiple other channels, but basically anywhere that you watch your favorite podcast, you can now see yours truly, John Martin, and Mr. Ted Yoho honoring the great late Ward Scott. So please check us out. Make your comments on Facebook, on YouTube, and we'll try to get to them.
I'm going to look down here right now.
See if you see any there. But we really appreciate that. Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about Mr. Bongino becoming deputy director of the FBI. But another piece of news kind of related to that, Kash Patel, who has just been sworn in as director of the FBI, is now going to be the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, the ATF chief as well. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Well, I think this is what you're seeing with the Trump administration. They're combining federal agencies. They're bringing them together. They're going to streamline it. And I think this is a good thing. And if people want to know more about Kash Patel, that documentary, A Plot Against the President, he's interviewed a lot in that. And he is just, again, he's somebody that's going after the truth to expose the corruption that was in the FBI. And that's an organization that needs to be shaken up. And it's interesting the way Trump and the DOJ committee is doing this by offering people buyouts of their retirement to leave. And it's interesting to see how many people are doing that. They're not all going to do that, but the ones that leave were not one that were serving this nation. They were serving a political ideology, and that's why we have Donald Trump as a president, because he's serving America, not a Republican or Democrat ideology. It's what America stands for.
Well, you mentioned DOJ, and I got to talk a little bit about Mr. Musk over the weekend. He was at the CPAC. And I don't know if you saw that, but the president of, I believe it's Argentina, came there to CPAC and presented him with a gigantic chainsaw, silver and gold-plated chainsaw to turn around and, you know, that he was going to do all these cuts and everything. And it's been amazing to me, the media response to that. I mean, they just take everything so literally.
Well, they do. They really do. And they want to make it look, how bad this is and out of character, or, you know, it's just so crass. But Javier Milei out of Argentina, he has turned that country's financial situation around in a very short time, and he's just again another person that is matter of fact, no BS. He just moves forward and he makes the changes that need to be done.
Well, I think one of the things that probably got liberals all across, and communists for that matter, all across the world nervous is how much of an impact Donald Trump's coming back to the presidency is having on their governments, and their people are starting to wake up all over the world.
They really
not
are.
just in our country.
Well, they are, and you look at the election in Germany. It went to a conservative party. It didn't go, didn't go to the far right. But again, you're seeing that in all these countries around the world, and with the speech by J.D. Vance, where he gave that pretty hardline speech about NATO, it's got everybody riled up, which is a good thing because they are going to come to the table and they're going to be hold themselves more accountable, and that's going to make us all safer. And the Rubio-Trump mantra is anything we do is to make us stronger, safer, and more prosperous as a nation. And if they follow through with that, it's going to help these other nations just as much.
Well, something that President Trump talked about in his first campaign, his first term in office, that you don't hear that much. But when he talked about America first, he turned around and said, it's not trying to put other countries down.
Right.
He basically said you should put your country first, and then we come to some type of mutual understanding. So President Trump is all about people seeking their own destiny within their own nation. He's not anti any particular country. He is America first, expects you to put your country first, and then we come and work it out.
I think that's the way you have to do that. Is if you don't put your country first, you put your family first. You do these things. And I had to defend this to a lot of the leaders around the world when I was in Congress. They said, well, you're isolationist. I said, no. The only way America can achieve is if we help, we work together and you achieve. By that, we become stronger together. So you're going to put your country first and we'll help you, and we're going to put our country first and you can help us via trade and the things that we do, the investments that we make.
Well, today, and this is a public service announcement that I want to make to all federal workers. Check your email. Check your email if you work for the federal government, because today is a couple of deadlines. One is if you were working remotely from home, today is your deadline to come back to work. Otherwise, according to DOJ, you're going to be considered, retired, basically. Right. And also people are, I can't believe how controversial this is in the mainstream media, that they're asking you to list five things that you accomplished in the last week. And there are some exemptions, the Defense Department, CIA, FBI, stuff like that. But in general, they want you to list 5 things that you have done in the past week related to your job. Why is that so controversial?
Because it's never been done before. This is that part of accountability that we always talked about in government that has never been done, but they all preach, well, we need transparency and accountability. Now it's being done, and it's a good thing.
Well, I was thinking about something along the lines of this when I was driving into the studio today. By the way, we are at the podcast booth at Spurrier's restaurant here. You ought to check it out.
Gridiron Grill.
Gridiron Grill. If you've never been to this place, you can get to it right off of I-75.
Easy to get to.
Yeah, right here in Gainesville, Florida. And you owe it to yourself not only to check out the beauty of this place, which is literally a sports museum, but the cuisine here is off the charts.
Yeah, it really is. It is a sports museum as you walk around here and you see all the awards and the trophies and the pictures. They've done a great job here.
So check it out. But, the thing I was thinking about is, and this, I don't mean this necessarily as a negative, but you always hear people talk about different jobs, especially government-related jobs. And federal, I think, is right at the top of this list. One of the things they list as a benefit is job security. That you get job security.
And every knowing holiday off.
Right. And you don't really have, so that implies a couple of things to me. One, it implies that there's not really, quote, job security in the private sector.
Right.
And the other is that you can't be fired or terminated or laid off from the federal system. Well, if that's true, then that is a recipe for disaster in itself, because no business could function that way. And people are always saying that government should be run like a business. So I think what Doge is doing, Elon Musk under the guide of President Trump is doing, is actually a normal course of business thing. It's just shocking to people who have worked for the federal government.
Oh, it's a paradigm shift, and people don't like change, but it's happening. It's a needed event that needed to happen. And the results, I think people will look back 5-10 years from now and they're like, wow, we really did streamline it, or the Trump administration did streamline it. And the money, the cost savings, the efficiency that you're going to see come out of this are going to be day and night.
Absolutely. So I say keep going, get that chainsaw cranked up, and keep moving forward. Well, we've only got about 4 or 5 minutes left in the show. And I wanted to talk a little bit and get your thoughts on where we are with the Ukraine war, because it seems like a very fluid situation. And we've been getting comments from people. Myself, I got comments from a dear friend of mine that somehow I might have been defending Putin, and I'm not. I'm simply saying that we've got to find a way to end this war, and I think Donald Trump is actually, with his envoys, is doing the right thing and engaging all sides in conversation. But what do you think about the current situation of the Ukraine war and the efforts to try to end that?
Any effort you can do to bring peace to that country and that region it's going to benefit everybody. I'm not sure if I agree with the way that Trump was doing this, working with Putin and keeping or Putin and him and keeping Zelensky out. You would think you'd want all three partners there, but it does seem like Zelensky is willing really to come to the table, and he's offered to resign if it will bring peace. The thing I think a lot of people may not understand is the history of Russia, of the genocide, basically, of the Ukrainian people since the early 1900s under Stalin, and since there's been millions of them just murdered, executed. And so the Ukrainians have that in their past and their history. And to bring in Putin to make an agreement without the Ukrainians, we'll see how that works out. But it does have people talking. And I think the important thing here, and I think you and I talked about this, Trump throws out a deal. You know, it's maybe most time it's going to be terrible, but what it does is it creates activity. And when you have activity is when you get results. And so let's hope this goes the way it is. And the other thing is it's really brought in the European nations with NATO and their responsibility. And this is something I've always said. It is not the United States' sole duty to defend Ukraine. We're members of NATO, and we should act like a NATO member and give accordingly. I don't think we should be given the amount of money that we have, and I think the best thing is just bring this to a close as quick as we can, and you can't do that if you don't have dialogue. Trump's created the dialogue.
Absolutely, and that's one of the biggest changes, because prior to President Trump getting back into office, It looked like a never-ending situation. There was no dialogue, whatever, so love it, hate it, or whatever. He's shaking it up, and at least people are talking about trying to find some type of peaceful solution.
Well, there is, and if you look at if you go back to USAID, I think they put in $40 billion into Ukraine. Some of it was humanitarian, but there's so much unaccountability. You wonder how much of that goes to black ops and things like that destabilize the country. And so again, it's good that they've gone in there and taken that golden chainsaw to USAID. The amount of money that we've put in there with no results, and as you said, there was no dialogue with Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and I call him O'Biden. That'll go down as elder abuse if people look back at that presidency, the way they took advantage of that guy.
Yeah, with Blinken, all they did was play their band, keep the fiddle or whatever he was doing. He's got a band or whatever. He's got plenty of time to play. Well, we're getting close to the end of the show, and I just want to encourage people to go share what we're doing, spread it far and wide. go on Facebook, go on YouTube, make your comments, and
Send us your comments.
we'll try to answer them. If you have any thoughts, by the way, of topics you'd like Ted and I to discuss, put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube, and we'll try to address those issues. But we thank you so much for joining us today. And Ted, I really enjoyed doing the show with you. We've got about 5 minutes left. Is there any particular subjects we didn't cover that you think maybe we should?
Yeah, I think we ought to talk about the bass tournament in Palatka, Florida. This was the first one of the season. I think it's called the FX or XXX. Sponsored by Bass Pro Shop, and the typical sponsors, Berkeley, Yamaha, all those people. But we had 106 boats on the river, on the St. Johns River. We live right on there, and when they start the tournament, they send the boats out 2 by 2, and they go down, and then they come in and for the weigh-ins. And we went to the weigh-in yesterday. I didn't realize we had that big of bass in the St. Johns River. I mean, there were some huge bass, and the guy that won it, it's his second win, and I think it was $100,000 win. The neat thing is, he said, for every kid out here, if you join the Bass Association, I'll pay for your membership. I don't care how many there are. You just sign up, and we'll make sure it happens. He'll pay for it. So there's a lot of giving back, and it's a lot of just awareness of the beauty we have in North Central Florida.
As long as you don't have those guys from up north that came there and were cheating in those fishing tournaments, that kind
Isn't
of
that
thing.
amazing? People are going to cheat if there's money involved. It's a shame.
But what a great event that was, I'm sure, and the economic development impact that brings is second to none.
It's huge. It's huge.
But we appreciate, as I say, you joining our show, like our sponsors, spread the word, and I'm sure that we will have nothing to talk about when we come back on Friday, because President Trump will probably do nothing between now and then.
He'll probably take a vacation or something, right? Like Biden did.
Yeah, even when he vacations, he makes news, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It's going to be good.
As I say, thank you. Come back. We do our show now live from the studios here at Spurrier's at Celebration Point on Mondays, and we do it from our various homes at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. So, Ted, I will see you online on Friday.
See
my
you
friend.
Friday. We
Take
appreciate
care.
it. Appreciate all the listeners and our sponsors. Take care.
Absolutely. Cut it a little bit short, but.